Hello everyone, this is Vincent Viz and Merry Christmas. In this video we're going to talk about the difference between lunging into your kick-up versus having your hands already down on the floor. The two main ways we have to enter a handstand are lunging from a standing up position, which means taking a step forward, ending up in this position here in which we have the back leg straight and the front leg bent, and using that hinge at the hip to generate momentum, swing the back leg, push on the front leg, and then on the wall. The same happens here. We use that initial step to get into the desired position. Option number two, starting with your hands already on the floor. So in this one, we already have our legs positioned in the desired way. Our hands are on the floor, our shoulders are either a bit behind the wrist or already over the center of the hands. We would call that stacked. And usually either from the first position the person leans and stack their shoulders, or they start stacked. And as we will see in the future, stacking those shoulders, and you can check the video about the first stack for that matter, is absolutely essential for us to catch balance. From here, same thing, we swing the back straight leg, push on the front bent leg until it extends, and get to the wall. Same happens here. So which one should you pick? You should pick the one that suits you best. That's answer number one. What does that mean? If you're a complete beginner, you can't reach the wall just yet. You're trying to kick up in that position, but your foot or your feet stop short of reaching the wall. If that's the case, you may be better off going for the lunging kick-up, because the lunging kick-up provides you with more momentum. Unless you have a tendency to collapse the shoulders forward, and this usually is the case when we have flexible wrists. It looks like this. Your head travels towards the wall. This is not desirable. The only thing that should touch the wall is your butt, one foot or both feet. If that's you, then you want to pick the first one and do all the drills that we talk about in the Facebook group and all the other drills that you will see in the astronaut course if you have taken it, which is a course designed just for that, how to reach the wall, just for complete beginners. If you are at the beginner or improver level, you are working on getting rid of that wall and making your freestanding handstand more and more consistent, more and more solid, straighter and straighter, longer and longer. If I were you, I would only pick one kick-up, just so that the number of variables you work with gets as small as possible. The fewer variables we work with, and the more replicable our handstand becomes, because it always feels the same. And when something feels always the same, we can systematize it. And that's what we are after when it comes to kicking up into a handstand. We want to exactly know the feelings that we are to expect when we are upside down, so that our consistency ramps up towards 100%. Meaning, whenever somebody asks, can you kick up? Show me your handstand. Without the shadow of a doubt, you know that you can kick up and catch a handstand which, let's face it, is very likely to happen during your Christmas dinner. So if you're not too sure, I would spend a session this week against the wall first, doing 10 kick-ups, resting in between reps, with your hands on the floor, and assess out of those 10 kick-ups how many times you reach the wall, and out of those, how many times you reach the wall softly, and out of those, how many times you managed to float before you reach the wall. This is reaching the wall. This is reaching the wall softly. This is floating before you reach the wall. You take notes, you rest, and then you do the same thing with a lunging kick-up. And at the end of that test, you should have a clear winner. And that's gonna be your kick-up for the next 3 months of 2024. And you will see that sticking with one will really help you simplify your practice and improve your consistency rate. Now, you are a bit more advanced along the lines of the improver intermediate levels. When we are an intermediate in the Handstand Academy, we have achieved what I call the freestanding freedom standard, meaning you can catch 10 to 15 seconds almost every time in the middle of the room. This is a great place to be in. And if you want my help to get there, you want to check out my Rocket online 6-week course, which is an intensive during which I review your homework personally every week. I tell you what to improve, and you follow a very thorough, detailed curriculum that summarizes the last 10 years I have been teaching handstands, both in person and online, to pretty much thousands of students. If you want to find more about that, click on the link in the description. But basically, the intermediate student will start asking themselves, how do I want to get into my handstand tomorrow? In what context am I likely to perform a handstand? Let's say you just like to do handstand for handstand's sake. Well then, the way you're gonna place your hands or not on the floor initially doesn't quite matter. Albeit for the fact that usually when we have the hands already down on the floor, we have a bit better control over our handstand. One of the reasons for that being, we don't have that initial momentum into our kick-up, which allows us to control better the end of the kick-up, which allows us to balance better. Another reason for that being, we can use active shoulder flexion towards the end of the kick-up to control exactly where our center of mass ends up being in space, which is a precious tool that also paves the way towards your press handstand. But at that level, another very important element we want to factor in to decide on what we're going to train is the context in which you plan on using handstand. If you are a yoga practitioner, you may find yourself willing to perform a handstand at the end of a transition in which your hands are already on the floor, in which case it can be very beneficial for you to have those hands already on the floor and to know how to kick up into them. If on the contrary, you know that your practice, let's say in capoeira or dance or movement, involves you being standing up, then there's value in you knowing how to get into a balancing handstand from a position that doesn't have the hands on the floor and still manage to balance it. So at that level, the context, the end scenario, the end context in which you plan on using your handstand matters. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments.